For sure, all of our Italian-American friends who are watching are all very familiar with baked ziti. And for sure, also everyone watching knows that their nonna or their mom makes the best baked ziti ever. And it's true. Baked ziti, as it's called, at least here in America, comes from kind of a broader category of pasta dishes in Italy that are all referred to as pasta al forno, which literally just means baked pasta. There are some really cool things about pasta al forno. One is that it's very easy to make, assuming you know a few things. We'll get there. Two, it is one of the best ways to feed a crowd. If you need to put a lot of food into a lot of mouths and make it really delicious, pasta al forno is the way to go. Three, it provides a lot of opportunities for creativity, and you can make them using pretty much anything you have on hand. So what we'd like to do today is not really share a specific pasta al forno recipe, because you can kind of make them however you want. Incidentally, if you are looking for a specific recipe, a very traditional pasta al forno recipe, then you will find one in our cookbook, The Italian Family Kitchen. I will put a link down below. However, what we would rather do here today is sort of show you guys through a few examples the sort of basic guidelines behind making a pasta al forno so that you can then go and make your own using whatever you would like. So without further ado, let's bake some pasta.
Every pasta al forno needs a sauce, and this because the pasta needs to cook in a sort of moisture sauce when it's baking in the oven. Now, the first choice that you have, and is also the most simple choice, is a normal tomato sauce. Then, if you want to make your pasta al forno richer, you can use also a bolognese sauce. When it comes to pasta al forno, to understand how much tomato sauce, all the other ingredients you need to use, you need to start from how many people you need to feed. Something like that, it can be okay for, let's say, 6 people, or for how hungry Calabrian. In this case, I think that 1 can of whole peeled tomatoes can be enough. But when in doubt, you can make also a little bit more. For sure, one thing you don't want, which is don't have enough sauce to cook your pasta. The best tomato sauce, in my opinion, is a simple tomato sauce. And I make mine using a clove of garlic, some olive oil, whole peeled tomatoes or tomato puree, a little bit of basil and salt. Once we put everything in a pot, we need to let it cook for about 20-25 minutes. And while our tomato sauce is cooking, we can talk about the second kind of sauce that you can use for your pasta al forno, which means bechamel. Bechamel sauce is a milk-based sauce. And what we need to make our bechamel? We need some butter. On a very low heat, we let the butter melt. Once the butter is melted, we need to add some flour, because what we need is a roux. So, flour in, and we stir. When all the clumps are dissolved, is the moment in which we can add the milk. Once you start to add the milk, you keep stirring it because you want the roux melt in the milk. And we're going to use fresh ground nutmeg, black pepper, and obviously some salt.
Now, everything about pasta al forno is pretty much done by eye. You don't need a recipe. You don't need to measure really anything. Maybe the one exception is the bechamel. If, like Ava, you've made thousands of bechamel sauces in your life, you can eyeball it. However, if you're new to cooking, if you're new to making those kind of sauces, you do want to get the kind of ratios at least close between the butter and the flour and the milk. I'll flash the ratios here on screen. But there's also a recipe on our website. If you want one, I'll put it down below.
The only thing that we need to do now is keep whisking our bechamel, stirring.
Whisking, sure.
Whisking, stirring.
Well, you're using a whisk, so it's technically whisking, stirring,
Okay,
whatever.
So you need to do this with your bechamel because otherwise your bechamel will stick at the bottom of the pot. And we need just to wait until the bechamel become thicker. The tomato sauce is cooking here, so because the whole peeled tomatoes are start to become softer, I'm going to crush them and helping them actually to cook. This is a very important rule about cooking, which means you need to try everything you are cooking. So now I'm going to try the bechamel and see if actually I need more salt or not. And guess what? I need more salt. Normally, bechamel should be thicker than this, but because I'm using this bechamel to be the sauce of my pasta al forno, I want it to be thinner because I need the extra moisture to make the pasta cooks. Now that our sauce are ready, it's time to think what we put in our pasta al forno. And this is the time in which you can be a little bit creative, but creative with some rules, which means that the ingredients you're going to choose to put in your pasta al forno, they need to agree with each other. Otherwise, you will make just a big mess. For my red pasta al forno, I'm going to use some provola, some salami, some nduja because I'm Calabrian and I love spicy food, and obviously I'm going to use some Parmigiano. I'm not going to use all of this, even if I'm tempted to do this, but no. You can use hard-boiled eggs, you can use some other cheeses that you like, you can use pecorino, you can use, I don't know, if you make a bolognese sauce, you have also the meat of the bolognese sauce. You can use also small fried meatball, and actually I really suggest to use them in a pasta al forno because they are amazing. You can use ham or prosciutto cotto. I wouldn't use like prosciutto crudo or capicollo because they are too salty and they dries out in the oven. Be creative, but with some rule in mind. For the white pasta al forno, the bechamel sauce based, I'm going to use, because it's around Thanksgiving time, I'm going to use some squash. Now I choose a kombucha squash. If you don't have a kombucha squash or you prefer a butternut squash, acorn squash, feel free to use those. Then I'm going to use some provola because cheese is always good. I'm going to use gorgonzola because to my taste, the strong taste of gorgonzola makes a very good pair with the sweet taste of the kombucha squash and the bechamel. And obviously also here I'm going to use some Parmigiano Reggiano. I choose to do my white pasta al forno vegetarian, but if you don't want to do it vegetarian, you can add also some salami. You can add, for example, some ham, you can add some sausage. And also if you have some leftover Harper's barbecue, it works amazing.
Yes, white barbecue pasta al forno is a thing of beauty.
It was so good. Most of the ingredients that you use for your pasta al forno, they can go in as they are. Think about the cheese, the salami, the nduja, the gorgonzola. But if you are going to use, for example, some meat like sausage or grounded lamb, you need to cook them before. The same is for vegetable. In this case, for the squash, I need to cook the squash before I can use for my pasta al forno. Going to add some cinnamon to the squash because in my opinion squash and cinnamon, they go perfect together.
It's also very
Now in Italy we use all kinds of pasta to make our pasta al forno. When we talk about pasta al forno, usually we use short pasta, so every kind of short pasta. Yes, we have some exception. Maybe one day we will talk also about those exceptions. But usually our choice in Italy is in between. A pasta that I never found here in America, maybe you have, and the name is tortiglioni, which looks like a little bit like a rigatone, but is twirled.
Twisted?
Twisted,
Oh.
yes. Or we can use rigatoni and penne. When you make pasta al forno, remember that you don't need to cook completely your pasta, but you take the al dente time, cut in half, and cook for half of the time, which means that in this case al dente is 12 minutes. I'm going to cook the pasta for about 5-6 minutes, no more. This is because the pasta will keep cooking in the oven. And because we Italians don't like a mushy pasta, we want that the pasta out of the oven is perfectly cooked. Also for the pasta, I'm just eyeballing how much pasta I need. For a dish like that, a package of pasta is enough.
While we wait for the pasta to boil, a quick word about today's video sponsor. Life is too short to perform menial tasks without listening to some great music or an audiobook or a podcast. That's why anytime we're, working out, cleaning the house, doing dishes, waiting for pasta to boil, we always keep our Raycon earbuds handy. Raycon earbuds provide one of the best values out there. Even though the quality competes with many of the big names in premium audio, Raycon start at just half the price of the other guys. And that's before you factor in the deal they're about to give you. I love my Raycon earbuds because of the active noise cancellation. You can block out annoying sounds, annoying humming if you're on a plane, but they also have awareness mode. So if, for example, you're walking around the neighborhood, you don't need to worry because you can hear that car coming. They've also solved one of my biggest frustrations with earbuds, which is that sometimes I forget to charge them. You want to do something, you put them in, they're dead, and you have to wait and wait and wait for them to charge. Raycons will charge up to 90 minutes of battery life with just 10 minutes of charging. I also love these cool protective case covers. They come in a bunch of neat designs, plus they support wireless charging. It's time to save big for Black Friday. Go to buyraycon.com/pastagrammar to get up to 30% off site-wide. A big thank you to Raycon for sponsoring today's video.
When the pasta is done, we want to drain the pasta completely, because then we start to add all the rest of the ingredients like the sauce, the cheese, the salami, and so on. I'm not going maybe to add all the sauce, but enough to make the pasta be good and cooking in the oven. Also here I will eyeball the situation. Well,
Is that your new phrase that you've learned, eyeball?
eyeball the situation. So this stage look pretty good to me, and it's very important that you have some leftover sauce, because I'm going to spread this at the top of the pasta when the pasta is in the baking tray before it goes into the oven. Now is the moment of the cheese. There isn't really a rule on how much cheese you put in every dish, the most in the pasta al forno. So feel free to use and add as much cheese as you like. I'm going to add nduja.
I've never had nduja pasta al forno before.
You never had a lot of things, Harper.
If you guys want the best nduja that you can find in America, if you live in the United States, put a link down below.
I'm just, how do you say?
Tearing.
Some salami, because I can't put the whole slice like that. Also here, how much salami, how much you like. And this is the best moment of all preparation, because here really you can also use all the chunk of Parmigiano.
Oh, the smell of andouille just hit me. It just got me. Well, you eyeballed that pretty well.
You know how many pasta al forno I made in my life? As I said before, we are going to add some extra sauce on top.
These little pieces of pasta sticking out, those are gonna be the ones that get really like crunchy and crispy. Yeah.
They will be the best part. And here, some more Parmigiano on top.
It's like the crust of the pasta al forno.
Or you can freeze like this and then cook when actually you want to eat the pasta al forno. Or you can, at this stage, put in the oven. I'm going to bake this now, but before I need to assemble the white one. Like before, we start from the sauce, except that for this time we are using the bechamel.
And same thing, right? You want some of that left over to put on top.
The grammar of pasta al forno is always the same. One thing that I always do with white pasta al forno is adding a little bit of butter, because the bechamel is always thicker than a tomato sauce. So the butter actually helps to be better, to be good but not dry. We can add some gorgonzola, some provola. Actually, Harper, this is turning in 3 cheeses on pasta al forno.
I was gonna say it's kind of mac and cheesy.
I can see that is a little bit drier. I'm going to add some more bechamel. Always keeping something for the top.
Once again, well eyeballed.
Once again, how many pasta al forno I did in my life? I'm going to bake the pasta at 400 degrees for about 35-40 minutes. This is another very important step. It's better to cover your pasta al forno before you put in the oven, because the first, let's say 20-25 minutes, it will help the pasta cooking. Then after 25 minutes we can take the aluminum foil out and we'll let the pasta make the nice crust, crunchy, cheesy top that everyone likes.
I don't know where to start here, because when you first made that one with the andouille, I was like, I am definitely going for that one, but I'm also really into the idea of this kind of Thanksgiving-y squash pasta al forno. It's easy, I'll try both.
Okay, I'm taking the best bite.
Oh yeah, you got the crispy bits.
All the crunch, all the...
Yeah, the pasta that's on the edge, it gets like a little bit,
the
yeah.
best.
Yeah, buon appetito. Okay, you know what I'm gonna ask you now, right?
Yes, Harper, we are going to make this for Thanksgiving. But come on, you didn't try this one.
That's true. Maybe I want this one for Thanksgiving too. I think a lot of Italian Americans make pasta al forno or lasagna for Thanksgiving.
I hope for them.
Let us know if you do. Oh, yeah, andouille, always.
I took a rigatone that
Always
was
and forever. Yeah,
full
of cheese.
of cheese, of bechamel, of squash. Was the perfect bite.
It's such a good and easy and quick way to feed a lot of people.
It's the perfect way
Yeah,
to feed a lot of people.
yeah.
Because while with the lasagna, you need to take the time actually to do the fresh pasta and all the rest. The pasta al forno is so quick.
You don't even need to layer anything. You just mix everything in, stick it in the oven. You can do a pasta al forno with just a few really basic ingredients that you can get at any grocery store.
And every time the result will never disappoint you.
Do you remember that time when we were in San Diego for my family reunion? We needed to come up with a meal to feed a bunch of people really fast, and it was just first thought. Go to the store, get some tomatoes, get some pasta, get some cheese, you got a pasta al forno, easy.
I don't know if I prefer that or this. No, it's like, that's mine. Oh.
Well guys, we hope that if you learned something new about the basics of pasta al forno today, that you'll go home.
I will call it pasta al forno grammar.
Pasta al forno grammar.
Yes, because you have 5 or 6 rules that you need to follow, but then you can actually write your pasta al forno as you want.
Yes, and we hope that's what you do. We hope that you go and get creative with it and make some pasta al forno creations. And if you do, send us a picture on Instagram or Facebook at Pasta Grammar, just like this Pasta Grammarian who made a beautiful focaccia barese.
And I have a problem with it because now I want a focaccia barese.
Looks really good. All right, guys, if you're in America celebrating Thanksgiving, we hope you have a very happy one.
As we say in Italy, felice ringraziamento.
You don't celebrate Thanksgiving though.
No, but we wish you. We are polite people. Doesn't matter. I grown up with that big turkey in the TV, Harper.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Ciao.
Ciao.